Hello, good morning everyone. I am K. Narsimurthy, presently working as an assistant professor in Government First Aid Women's College, Tumkur. The subject which I am teaching is the physics, and this is my 55th video for the second semester students of Tumkur University. So I have been presented 54 videos. So I have covered almost a 90% of entire syllabus of the second semester in my 54 videos. Only 6 more videos are left to finish off the entire syllabus of second semester of Tumkur University. Now I have finished one chapter from 45 to 55 videos, 54 videos. I have finished two chapters, in fact, two small chapters. One is transient current, another one is alternating current. These are the two chapters which I have finished in the last unit. Last unit is completely transient current and the alternating current, and this remaining last small chapter is the network theorems. Okay, right. Now today I am going to start a new chapter which is called the network theorems. Students, you might have not heard about these network theorems before, because in the second PUC pre-university level you might have not come across with these network theorem. It is absolutely a new topic for you all. Right, that's why before directly going into the network theorems, I have to introduce some of the few circuit elements to you for better understanding of these network theorems. Alright, so here first definition which I am going to introduce here is electrical network. Okay, right. So electrical network is the interconnection of the circuit elements like resistor, capacitor and inductor, and along with the energy source. If these circuit elements are interconnected, it makes an electrical network. The circuit elements may be a resistor, an inductor, a capacitor, a transistor, a diode. It could be of anything, any circuit element. If it is connected with an energy source, and it has to make a closed loop, then it is called an electrical network. It is interconnection of circuit elements and the energy source which makes a closed loop. You have to mention it. Closed loop is also a very much important here. It makes a closed loop. Okay. So electrical circuit is a network consists of closed loop. As I told you, it has to be a closed loop. Okay. Right. Now this is one of the example which I have given you. This is one example of electrical network. See an inductor, resistor, capacitor. They all connected to some energy source. It could be AC or it could be a DC. Any energy source for that matter, it has to have one energy source and these circuit elements connected to it, and it has to make a closed loop, and that is called an electrical network. Right. So three circuit elements, inductor, resistor, capacitors, are connected to an AC source, and this makes an electrical network. Right. So we understood what is electrical network is. Next, an elementary definitions regarding this electrical network is node or a junction. Okay, right. Node or a junction is a point. It is actually a point where two or more branches meet. It is a point where two or more conductor meet. You can say it in either way. Okay. So you can say that as two or more branches meet, or you can say it as two or more conductor meet. Okay. So basically node or junction is a point in an electrical network where the two or more branches meet or the two or more conductors meet. Okay, I have taken you this complex network with a 2 voltage source and the 3 resistors which are arranged in such a complex manner. Now I am going to locate a node here in this electrical network. Okay, look at the point A, which I have mentioned with a red dot. A is the point where the three branches are meeting actually. So one branch of resistance R1 is coming like this. One branch with resistance R2 is coming like this. One branch will be in the middle of these two, which is R3 branch. So there are three branches, three conductors are meeting at this point A, and this point A is called a junction. Okay, this point A is called a junction. And look at the point B. B is also called a junction because it is also having two or more branches. One is the branches which is of R3. There is another branch which is coming from E2. There is another branch which is coming from E1. Even at the point B also, we have three branches meeting at this point. If it is enough that two or more branches meet at some point, and that point can be called as node or a junction. Okay, but students, you need to understand one thing here. There is an edge over here in the R1 resistance. Left side you can see an edge point where it is coming from the battery E1, whether it is a node or not. The point, edge point, where this R1 resistor and the E1 resistance are meet at this edge point, do you think it is a node? No, this point is not a node or a junction because it is not the two branches meeting. It is a continuous branch. We have made it like this. The shape is like this. This is only an edge. It is not a node. It is not the two or more branches meeting. Okay. The only node or a junction you can find in this electrical circuit is the point A and the point B. These are all the only two nodes or junctions you can find in this electrical network diagram. Just the rectangular edge point, the corner points of this rectangular electrical network is not a node. It is not connection of two branches. It is simply for writing a circuit, for making a circuit it looks so beautiful. So we have written like this in a rectangular form. The edge of the rectangle is not a node or a junction. Right, we'll move on to the next thing. Okay. Next definition, next very basic definition of electrical network is mesh or a loop. Okay, right. Mesh or a loop is a closed path for flow of current in the network such that it does not contain any another closed path within it. So basically, mesh or a loop is a closed path for flow of current. It may be closed path of any shape. You can write in circular or you can write in rectangular, square shape. Shape doesn't matter, but thing is it has to be closed. And any elements for that matter, you may have 2-3 elements, you may have one element, you may have two elements. It doesn't matter, but it has to be closed. Only condition to call it as a mesh is a closed path for a current. No, it has to. The current has to pass through it. Current has to pass through it. Current will only pass if it finds a closed path. Then only the current will flow. Otherwise, the current will not flow in the electrical network. Therefore, you can say mesh or a loop is a closed path for the flow of current in a network that such that it does not contain another closed path within it. You should understand the note here. The important note here is that loop, that mesh should not have any another closed path within it. Okay, right. So I can give you an example of this. So look at the diagram. This is the circuit diagram where we have to locate mesh or a loop. Okay, right. The first loop I have not labeled with the ABCD. Rather, I would have done this. It would have looked better. Okay, no problem. The loop which contains E1 battery, R1 resistance and R3 resistance. Okay, this loop is loop 1. I am calling it as loop 1. This makes the loop 1. This is one closed path for the flow of current. Current can go like this to the R1 and then go to the R3 and it can come back to E1. That makes one closed path for flow of current. And one more condition is it doesn't have any another closed path within it. Right. That is fine. Come back to the second loop. The second loop where the battery is connected and the resistor R2 and the resistor R3. Okay. So this way it makes another closed path. Okay. Fine. This makes another closed path, and the condition is it does not contain any another closed path. You cannot say the large one with two batteries and R1 R2, this the big one, that is not a closed path because it has two more closed paths within it. So this bigger one, it cannot be called as a closed path. The bigger one with E1 E2 and R1 R2, that makes rectangle, that is not a mesh or a loop because it contains two more closed paths within it, so it cannot be called as a mesh or the loop. So how many mesh or loop are there in this electrical network? There are two closed paths, so you can have two mesh or two loops in this particular electrical network. Right. Yeah. So after discussing some of the basic circuit elements, like some of the basic definitions regarding the electrical network, like what is electrical network, what is mesh or a loop, what is a node or a junction. Now I would like to discuss what is actually the ideal voltage source. See, the ideal voltage source is one which maintains a constant voltage at its terminals. So any voltage source at this, it has to be have two terminals. It has to have two terminals. In these two terminals, any time you measure the voltage, it has to be constant. So it is the one which maintains constant voltage across its terminals, irrespective of the current delivered to the external work, irrespective of the current delivered to the network. Okay, so it may have 1 ampere current, it may this source can deliver 2 ampere current or 1.5 ampere current. This doesn't matter, but it has to have a constant voltage across these terminals irrespective of the current which is delivering to the network. Okay, so any amount of current it may deliver to the network, it does not matter, but it has to have constant voltage, constant potential across its terminals. Okay, so it has two terminals, so whenever you measure, the voltage has to be constant, and that is called an ideal voltage source. Okay, so here internal resistance, what internal resistance you can expect for an ideal voltage source? So it has to be zero. Internal resistance of an voltage source, ideal voltage source, has to be zero, because if it has some voltage, if it has some resistance, if it has some internal resistance, then you can expect voltage drop across that resistance. Therefore, when there is an voltage drop across the resistance, you cannot expect a constant voltage to be delivered to the network. So it is no more an ideal source if it has some finite internal resistance. To call it as an ideal voltage source, it has to have an internal resistance to be zero. Okay, so for ideal voltage source, internal resistance has to be zero. Look at the diagram. I have written a voltage source, AC voltage source. I am calling it as Vs. Vs is the voltage source, and current, it is delivering the current of Is to the network. I have not written a network, it is independent of network. So Is is the current which is delivering the network, but look at the potential across its terminals. So terminal potential difference Vt is the source potential. It is same as the source potential. It will not change. It maintains constant potential. So terminal potential and the source potential both are going to be same. It is maintaining a constant potential irrespective of current which is delivering to an external network. Right. Yeah. Now we look for a practical voltage source. When I talk about ideal case in any quantity for that matter, I have to talk about the practical case also. But that ideal voltage source cannot be possible to develop because you cannot make an internal resistance to be zero for any voltage source. So practically if you develop any voltage source, it will have some internal resistance. Okay, the practical voltage always have some resistance which is in series with an ideal voltage source. Okay, so it will have some series resistance to the ideal voltage source. That makes a practical voltage source. Practically what we are using in our laboratories, the voltage sources, the batteries, either it may be a DC battery or it may be an AC battery, the batteries which we are using in our laboratories all are practical voltage sources. You cannot expect an ideal voltage source. You cannot prepare an ideal voltage source which can have zero internal resistance and which delivers a constant voltage irrespective of the current. Okay, so these practical voltage sources will have some internal resistance, okay, connected in series with the ideal voltage source. Okay. And because of this series resistance, you can have some voltage drop when current passes through it. When there is some voltage drop across the internal resistance of the battery, you cannot expect a practical voltage source to deliver a constant voltage. There is some slight variation in the voltage, so slightly there is a variable voltage because this voltage source has some internal resistance and it has some slightly variable voltage. So it cannot supply exactly the constant voltage to the external network. So there is a very small change in the voltage. There is a slightly variable voltage because of the internal resistance of this voltage source. Right, I have written you the circuit diagram of both the ideal and the practical voltage source. Left side is the ideal voltage source. So now the voltage source is delivering a constant voltage to this load resistance which is connected across this voltage source irrespective of the current which is flowing in that circuit. But look at the second circuit where it is a practical voltage source. It has some series in resistance which is connected to the ideal voltage source. So this makes a practical voltage source. It has some series resistance connected to it. So therefore there will be some voltage drop across this resistance. Therefore you cannot have a exactly constant voltage delivering to the going out of this network to the load resistance. There is some slightly variation in the voltage across the terminals of this voltage source. Alright, we move on to second type of source, which is a current source, and let me see what exactly an ideal current source is. An ideal current source is one which delivers a current of constant magnitude. It is current, delivers a current. You please correct it. It is mistyped here as a constant. You make it correct. Okay, this is a current of constant magnitude, totally independent of the external network connected to it. You connect any external network, whether it is a complex network with 3-5 resistor or it may be a simple network, it does not matter. It is totally independent of this external network you are connecting it to it. It delivers a constant current. If it is a 1 ampere current, it continuously delivers a 1 ampere current to the network. It is independent of what external network you are connected to this voltage, to this ideal current source. Okay, so it continuously delivers a constant current. Right. Now, ideal voltage source generates a current and that is independent of voltage across it. Okay, even it has a 2 volts across the terminal, even it has a 4 volts across the terminal, it is independent of that. So ideal current source will supply a constant current, will generate a constant current independent of voltage across it. Any voltage, you keep it for 2 volts or 4 volts, 6 volts, it does not matter. The current which is delivering will be the constant. So that is why it is called ideal current source. So what has to be the resistance of this ideal current source? So the ideal current source, a practical current source, has an infinite internal resistance. Okay, so current source has to have infinite internal resistance. Okay, so that is not possible practically. Practically, to construct an ideal current source, we have to have an infinite internal resistance, and that is not at all possible practically. Okay, right. So I have given you the diagram of this ideal current source. Okay, so I have written a source. I am calling it as IS. It is delivering the current IS to an external circuit. It is independent of external circuit, so I have not mentioned the external circuit which has connected to this ideal current source. Not written because it is independent of that. It supplies a continuous constant current to an external source, independent of what external network you have connected to it, and it is also independent of voltage across it. It's never depends on the voltage across it. So to make a practical voltage source, so we have to connect an infinite internal resistance. So it has to have infinite internal resistance, but that is not possible practically. So when I talk about an ideal case, so I need to talk about a real case also. So real, and you can call it as a practical. So I have to talk about a practical current source as well if I talk an ideal current source. Right. Now this is a practical current source. This is the current sources which we use practically in our laboratories. We cannot have an ideal current sources. We can only have a practical current sources, real current sources, which is available for us, which we use in our daily laboratories. Fine. This practical current source has some internal resistance, okay, connected in parallel to ideal current source. Look at this case. Okay, so whereas in ideal practical voltage source, we have it has to have some series resistance connected to ideal voltage source, but here a practical current source has some internal resistance connected parallel to the ideal current source. Okay, so here it is parallel, there it is series. There in a voltage source, there in a practical voltage source, there is a series internal resistance. But here in a practical current source, here it has a parallel resistance, internal resistance connected parallel to the ideal current source. Okay, and some current flow through it, and an amount of flow depends upon the load. Okay. Now it cannot deliver exactly the constant current. So there is a small current which is flowing through that internal resistance which is connected parallel to the ideal current source. So you can have some leakage of current through that parallel resistance which has a finite parallel resistance. So therefore you cannot expect exactly the constant value of current delivering to an external network. So practically you cannot expect exact voltage source, exact constant current to be delivered across the external network. So practically there is some adjustment, there is some limitation, but ideally it has to supply a constant current, but practically it is not so. It is not exactly supplying a constant current. There is some variation in the current. So because of a parallel internal resistance which is connected to an ideal current source. Right. I have discussed so many cases here. I have discussed the definition of network theorem and mesh or a node or a current loop, and then I discussed the voltage source, ideal voltage source. Then I discussed a practical voltage source. Then I went to ideal current source. After that, practical current source. I have discussed lot of very basic elements of electrical network. After knowing to the very basic electrical networks, let us see what exactly the network theorems are. Okay, so if it is a simple linear network, if it is a very simple linear network, it can be analyzed with the laws which we know. very basic laws which we know from the second PUC are the Ohm's law and the Kirchhoff law. Students, these are the two laws which you know in the second PUC. Very basic laws regarding the electrical network are these two laws, the Ohm's law and the Kirchhoff law. I hope that you all know these two laws better. Now, if it is a matter of complex network, if it is a complex network with a two or more branches with two or more resistance connected to a network, then to analyze this network, these two very basic laws are not sufficient. The Ohm's law and the Kirchhoff laws are insufficient to analyze these complex networks. So that is why you need to know about some of the complex theorems to analyze these complex network, and those complex network theorems are, the one is the superposition theorem, Thevenin's theorem, maximum power transfer theorem, and the Norton's theorem. These are the four theorems you need to know in an electrical network to analyze any type of complex electrical network. Okay, I'll repeat. The four theorems are superposition theorem, Thevenin's theorem, maximum power transfer theorem, and the Norton's theorem. Students, you have statement and proof of all these theorems in your syllabus. Okay, so one by one in each session I am going to discuss one theorem. Okay, statement and proof of that theorem in one session. Okay, so I need 4 more sessions to complete these 4 theorems. Okay, so that is all about an introduction of electrical network. So these are some of the books. You go through it, you will understand all these theorems very well. Thank you.